Hey, this is Glenn. Welcome to another episode of Difficult Questions. This one, do we need heroes? And this is on the back of all of these heroes that we've propped up that have seemed to fallen by the wayside into fraudulent territory. I mean, we can do financial heroes like Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, the wunderkind, the young, he made it, he's a billionaire. We can look at the trajectory of Elon Musk and all of the crazy stuff that he's been doing. Starting with he was the real life Tony Stark, and we needed that. And we can also look at our need for superhero movies in the past 20 years and why we need as adults all these superheroes, why we need Tony Stark in our lives. To even Donald Trump, political heroes or social heroes. We always say firefighters and police officers are our heroes. What does that get us? Why do we need that? And then why are we getting duped so easily by people, especially when they fall by the wayside, or they really are fraudulent. People that are looking for attention, and then we notice that they're not really who they say we are. They are. The Liver King this past month, couple months comes to mind. He was supposed to be all natural and he was buff and he was supposed to live the primal way. And it turns out he was on steroids and he was hiding that. And that whole lie kind of came through. And why do we need the Liver King? And why do some of the people that we prop up turn out to be fraudulent? So I wanted to look into that, why we need these heroes. My landlady is Rita Green, the wallpaper queen, and she loves inspiring people. And she started as a dancer when she was 14 on this national touring show. So that's amazing to people. I think that people get inspired by amazing things. And then she always says, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And she ended up landing in LA and got connected with the right people and was a 1950s starlet. And she is just happy beyond happy. I mean, people meet her in the neighborhood and then call her when they need to feel good about the world, and so in some way she has inspired everyone to a point where it got her an LA Times article. It got her on the Today Show. And she's in her 80s and she's still hanging wallpaper. So these amazing feats are kind of heroic to us. We look at, wow, how can she still be in her 80s and hanging wallpaper and still be a great inspiration and still be happy and have all this crazy stuff happen in her life? And she just keeps going, and I think that inspires us. But we also turn those people into someone we admire. I look at David Goggins, who is this ultra marathon runner, but he was a Navy SEAL, wrote a book, hugely inspirational. But I like him because he reminds me of my father. And my father, I would consider, if I had to have a hero, I guess it would be kind of like these parental heroes. My dad, because my dad was pretty good at sports and he was pretty physical, but he was also this killer musician. And then he was a music teacher and he always looked cool. And, he was smart and he could really strategize things. And he was also a teacher. So besides being my father and the person that helped to guide who I am, he was this amazing person that inspired me. But he would always not accept that kind of hero worship, that admiration. And I would say my family is very cynical and my family is very stoic. And so I grew up with this idea that, everyone was allowed to be criticized. My father would even criticize himself. And so there was no looking up. And so David Goggins kind of reminds me of that because he's done these great things and these admirable things and these stupendous, amazing physical feats. But he always says, don't look at me, just be better. And he's not a happy man. And I think that, or at least he puts that forward in his public persona. And it reminds me of my father. He's kind of this reluctant hero, right? My dad was a reluctant hero, and I look at kind of the model of David Goggins as this reluctant hero. And what I found as an entrepreneur is in business, people want the good story, and you want to give them the good story. And you being a reluctant hero is not a successful way to sell people a positive story or a good story. So I think that in a certain way, we get duped into these people giving us a story because we want the good story. We want the Liver King to be all natural, even though he looks absolutely like he's on steroids. We want to believe that. And so the people that are kind of maybe morally compromised are willing to give us that good story, even when it's not true. They're not like David Goggins, where he just says, it's going to hurt. It's going to take hard work, and you just need to step up and work. I think that what has given David Goggins the hero status is all of his accomplishments, these records of the pull-up record, or these lengths that he's done, these marathons, or the fact that he was a Navy SEAL and he was in Army Ranger training, and he was just he ate up military schooling and success. And so people see that and go, wow, that guy's amazing. So we always want to be like the amazing people we see. The trick that I've seen is, if you are a hero, you don't feed on the admiration. You feed, I think, you can please respond to this. You feed on giving people inspiration, and that's the good story. The inspiration is the good story. The admiration they give you, don't turn that away, because then you're telling them that their admiration is false. But you can't feed on that admiration, because if you are just feeding on that admiration, then you start to corrupt yourself. I think this is what we need. Again, grew up in a very cynical world, stoic world, where admiration was seen as something that was false. And I think there can be true admiration, but you can't, as a person that's being admired, want to feed off of that. I know that my father was, when I first started going down the entrepreneurial path and was telling him about kind of raising my visibility as a filmmaker, as a public speaker, he just looked at me and he said, "You want to be famous?" Like, it was something of disdain. And I said, well, if fame helps me to do the projects and inspire the people in the way that I want to give to the world, then yes, that's it's not a price, but that is a byproduct of what I need to do in order to succeed. Where my father, growing up, it was all about, let's say he was a musician. Well, it was about the music he played, not about the musician who played it. And it was all about playing the music as amazingly as possible, not the musician that was playing it. And I think that we start to admire the musician instead of the music, what they're doing. And in that moment, it starts to get bent, especially if the person that is providing the music or the inspiration starts to feed on and want the admiration more than to give inspiration. So they are giving us something that isn't necessarily legitimate in order to continue to feed that inspiration and the admiration that they get. Whereas I think the success is to just focus on what genuine inspiration you can give people. I don't know. Are you inspired by heroes? Do you need heroes in your life? Who are your heroes? How have heroes changed your life? Or are you trying to be a hero to someone? And why are you trying to be a hero to someone? This is something that I think is really important to take apart, because it stops us from getting hornswoggled, stops us from getting duped if we understand why we want what we want out of the person in front of us. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks.